Hi, Emmanuel with T2S, and T2S stands for Transform to Succeed. I'm also the host of Cloud Ops Chronicles with Emmanuel. It's a show that goes live every Saturday, at this point, every week on Saturdays, and you'll see it on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as YouTube. I am today going to show you how you can automate the provisioning of your infrastructure. It may be very simple or very complex using a tool that we call Terraform. It is also referred to as an infrastructure as code tool. You write what you do, you write Terraform scripts. So you're gonna write configurations, and this will be like a Terraform, the TF configuration files. So you're gonna write those. And on these files, you're gonna define or determine the state in which you want the resources of your component, your infrastructure to be in. So the files will define the state of each component of your infrastructure. And after you do this, you're gonna run some commands here. You're gonna run Terraform init, and then you will run Terraform plan and apply. These are the kind of like the life cycle of the entire infrastructure. So you build, you write, you design your infrastructure, which you reflect on the Terraform configuration files. And these files, they define the state in which you want the different components of your infrastructure to be in. And how do you apply those? You apply those by running these commands. And that's pretty much what you do. But you need an architect. You need somebody to build all of this. And this is Terraform. So Terraform is your architect. And you are like the designer. So you design, you have the blueprint, and then you give it to Terraform and say, hey, this is what I want. And Terraform will do everything that you have defined as part of your state file. So Terraform will keep track of every resource that you create on that state file. But for you to do that, you're gonna first need to initialize your project. And after initializing your project, you're gonna have to review your infrastructure. And once you're happy with the kind of infrastructure that you want to build, then you apply the configuration files. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do in this video. So the first thing that we need to do is to write our configuration files. But before you write the configuration files, you need to know exactly what you want, right? Like, what do you want to build? In this video, what we build, it's gonna be an EC2 instance. So we're gonna build an EC2 instance, and the way we build our EC2 instance, it's I'll take you back here. So it's like exactly what you do on on the console, because when you initialize your project, what Terraform does is to say, okay, who's your provider? And once Terraform knows your provider, because it's gonna have to be part of your Terraform configuration files, right? You say like it's gonna be AWS because you don't have EC2 instances on Microsoft Azure, Google, Oracle, or any other cloud providing computing provider. But it's on AWS, so this is your provider. And what Terraform will do, it's gonna communicate with your provider and then downloads the different plugins that you need on your system, wherever you host your Terraform configuration files. So plugins will be installed, and and a variety, a series of other files will also be created on your system. So as part of your project, so you do that, and when you write your Terraform configuration files, you not only you specify the provider, but also you specify the different components of your EC2 instance. Meaning that we're gonna need like a key PAM or PAM key. All right, it's almost the end of the day as I'm recording this video, so I'm a little bit tired. So you're gonna need a PAM key, meaning that you need a public key and a private key, which will allow you to SSH into your system. You're gonna need a security group, and the security group, this is this is it's a firewall, and then AWS calls it security group, okay, at the level of an EC2 instance or EC2 instances. So you're gonna need that, and on the firewall, what you need to do, you're gonna have to open, and that's what we'll do, port number 2 for SSH. SSH stands for secure shell, and then we'll open port 80. That's for HTTP traffic to come into your server. And you use this mostly for, let's say it's a web application. So it's a web application. You may want to have 80, or you may need to have a more secure port here, meaning that you want to secure your HTTP, the traffic. And for that, you will have to attach, an SSL certificate and so on. So this one is more secure. But for practicing, let's say internally, like testing a project, a web application, you may just need this. And that's what we're doing. SSH, you're gonna need this. And of course, you're gonna have to specify part of the security group. You're gonna have to specify where the traffic, what kind of a source you may allow to access your application, meaning that's the CIDR block. So you're gonna have to specify that as well. And what I'm gonna do, I'll just show it to you on the console as well before we begin playing with the Terraform scripts. And to do that, I'll just delete this. I'm gonna get rid of this. But everything that you put on your Terraform configuration file, that's exactly what you do when you set up your infrastructure using the console. Let's go to the console here. So we are on the console, and we're here. What we have here, we're gonna just deal with EC2. We're gonna also deal with S3, because that's where we're gonna store our Terraform state file, and then we'll lock the state file using a table from DynamoDB. Let's start with EC2, and here we have nothing here. So let's say we want to launch. This is just an example. So you're gonna give it a name, which will also be reflected on your configuration file, Terraform configuration file. You're gonna decide on the AMI, which is the application, Amazon machine image. You specify the instance type, the key pair. I told you about it. We're gonna create one specifically for this project. And then the next thing that we do is to specify the network settings, meaning we have to say, where do we want to deploy this the specific infrastructure? Do we want to deploy it in what VPC? In our case, we're going to use as our default VPC here, and we'll assign a public IP, because this is like a web application. So we want people to access our web application over the internet. We create a firewall here known as security group in the case of AWS. And as you see here, traffic coming from where? And here we're gonna just say anywhere for now, but you can also select you can specify your personal IP, like a range of IPs, that's a CIDR. And then we'll also allow the HTTP here. Okay, we want to allow this one here. It's not recommended to use this in production, and for security reasons. And you can also say, okay, we want to create 2 or 3 instances, but in our case, we're going to just stick with 1 here. So all of these pieces of information, and that's exactly what we're going to have on our configuration file. We don't have our files here, but what I want you to do is you're gonna have to go to my GitHub, and actually in the comment, the description of this video, you should see a link to the GitHub repo, and this is where you're gonna find the scripts. So the first thing that you do, you're gonna git clone that, and then after you git clone, you're gonna move to this directory here. So I'll just move there and clear my screen, ls, and here you see 3 directories. And the reason I have these 3 is because, the test directory, let's say if you do the tree command, we're gonna do the tree command. It's a command that you need to install on your system to do this. So if you do the tree command and you apply it on this directory, you're gonna see in this directory we have the 2 main files here, and we will not worry about this. This is when you don't have a security group, but this one we have a security group. So let's cat. We're gonna cat that. I'm gonna do that main with, okay, so I cat it. And then this is a case when you put everything on one file. Everything on one file. So starting here with the provider, that's the first thing that you have to, when you write Terraform configuration files, you have to specify what provider you're using, right? Specify the region, and then this is to create our key pair, and then save our key on in this specific project, direct project place or environment. Then we'll create a security group, as I showed you, and this is the name. So you have everything. So imagine you have this. Remember, we're using data here. Data is to say we're gonna pull information from an existing resource. But when you have the resource, like a resource here, is to say we wanna create this resource here. And it's gonna be a security group, and this is the name we will give it. And we have also some metadata information there. It's a description. And these are the ports that I told you that we will have to open, all right? And the CIDR blocks the source of where the traffic will be coming from. Okay, so like any IP and stuff like that. But for security reasons, you're gonna have to specify a specific, determine a specific CIDR block, like you have to specify that. That's in production. In the real world case scenario, that's what you do for security reasons. And then we get the data from the what kind of VPC we want to use, and then so on. And this is the instance that we'll create. See here, resource, meaning that we want to create, and then we'll attach the security group that we have created, and then the subnet information that we have pulled from an existing subnet. And that's it. So now imagine, this is only creating like 2 resources. But imagine you're creating like 25 resources or 50. And each resource may have some dependencies. Like for instance, we're creating an instance here. This instance has dependencies. You're gonna need an AMI, you're gonna need an instance type, you'll need a key pair, you're gonna need to attach a security group, subnet, and so on. But 25, so you're gonna have a long list, and you don't need to put this here. Come on, man, you can do that. No, this is not allowed. All right, that's the point, bottom line here. But when you go in here, you can pretty much do everything here. So let's begin with Terraform init. So we're gonna do Terraform init, and you see here we are initializing the backend. The backend, it could be local or it could be remote. When it's local, it means that your state file will be stored locally. And here we don't have any remote backend. And so it's gonna be here. And then we initialize the provider plugins, as I told you. So that's done. And the next thing is to create a log file. That is done. When you ls here, now we're gonna do the plan. Let's do the plan. And usually I use Terraform validate. Terraform validate to check on the syntax. So let's do that. Terraform validate. We're gonna check the syntax to see if everything is okay, and it says the configuration is valid. Let's go back to apply. We didn't do apply before. That was plan. Plan is to review. So plan here is to review the infrastructure that you want to build. So you're gonna go back to the bottom here and then read all of this to check if everything is as you want it to be. When you do Terraform apply, it's gonna give you again another review, time to review. And once you're satisfied, then you enter yes, type in yes. And when you type in yes, it's gonna create your infrastructure. So when we go to our instances here, we didn't have anything here, and you see now we have this one here. It's being created, and you see here it's initializing. So you go to connect SSH, and back here it says everything has been created, 5 added. So let's clear the screen, and when you ls, now you see your state file. Let's cat state file here. The state file has information about every resource that pertains to the infrastructure that you have provisioned using these Terraform configuration files. All right, so I'll clear my screen. It's not something that you want to keep on your system, local system. It's something that you want to keep in, like in the work environment. A remote backend is what we advise. So you have that. You see, everything has been done. When you go to, and we can now log in. You see, we have the PAM key here. We can log in. So we just follow the steps, chew mode. And when I talk about the steps, I'm talking about here. So you go to the instance that you want to SSH in, click on connect, and you do this first. And then the second command is this one here. Go back here, and now we should be able to connect. Type in yes, press enter, and we are connected to our Ubuntu system. And then here you can even run some command here like apt get update, and it's going to update the system. So you can now, what we have done, we just use one file to do the business. But this is not one of the best practices. You don't have to do this. I'm going to exit, and then what I would do, I would just Terraform destroy. Or I can leave it for now. No, let's just clean it up. So say destroy. We're gonna clean it up. And then what we want to do next, we want to do what is recommended. Type in yes, because that's what you want to do.